Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here, and Rosie, of course, always comes by when I start recording. Now, every time I see the new BMW 8 Series, or the new one, the modern one that we have today, I always have to look twice to make sure it really is a BMW and not an S550 Mustang. And in this video, I'm going to show you why I have that problem by pointing out just how similar these two designs are, not only in the lines and proportions, but in the graphics as well. It's pretty crazy when you start looking into this, which I'm going to show you in this video. And then I want you to think about this every single time you see a modern BMW 8 Series coupe out on the streets. So, design work of the first generation E31 8 Series began in 1984, and this is, yes, it is my favorite one, and yes, it is the older one, of course, because this to me is one of the most elegant looking cruiser GT coupes that's ever been made. And I think it was pretty brave of BMW to put this out in production because it looked so different from anything BMW had done before, including the 6 Series, which this 8 Series was supposed to replace. The production car was introduced at the 1989 Frankfurt Motor Show and went on sale as a 1990 model and was produced all the way up until 1999. And as I said, the 8 Series was designed to move beyond the market of the original E24 6 Series, featuring greater performance, and of course with that comes an increase in price. The 8 Series was the first road car to offer a V12 engine mated with a 6-speed manual transmission and was one of the first vehicles to be fitted with electronic drive-by-wire throttle. Now, if we look at this beautiful machine here, the E31 8 Series, and keep in mind that this was designed in the mid-80s and lasted all the way up to 99. That's 15 years of a design being relevant for a big brand like BMW. And to me, what that says is that this design was, in fact, timeless, and time has proven that that is the fact. Looking at it today, we could modernize this shape by just updating the graphic, but if we look at this 8 Series now and look at what Ford was doing with the Mustang around the same time, the mid-90s, this is what we find. This particular Mustang here is the Mustang Cobra from 1994. It had 240 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque, a 0 to 60 time in 6.4 seconds. Performance-wise, it wasn't too bad, and it definitely looks like a good time here on the track, even with the solid rear axle. So now, comparing the two, the 1990s 8 Series in the 1990s Mustang, and doing the same with the modern versions, only tell me one thing. It tells me that Ford has really stepped up their game in terms of pretty much everything. In terms of design, build quality, and interior finish and materials. I wouldn't call them neck and neck today, but the 2020 Mustang and the 2020 BMW 8 Series are way closer in quality than what they used to be 20 years ago. But the similarities do not stop there. What we're going to talk about here is the design, and what's more interesting is the evolution of the design of both these cars. They started on opposite ends of the coupe spectrum when it comes to styling, but now they've sort of merged almost into one inseparable design. To show you just how similar these two cars are, we need to jump into Photoshop. Alright, so here we are inside of Photoshop, of course, and now the fun stuff begins here. You can already tell. This is, of course, if it's too hard to tell, I understand. So I'm gonna tell you that the top car here is the BMW 8 Series, and the bottom car is the Ford Mustang. This specific one is the S550 from 2015, so the first model year of the new body style Mustang. And you can see just how similar these two are, and to make it even easier for you to see, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna copy this whole thing here, and then I'm gonna go over all the lines that are almost identical to these two cars. So first of all, just have a look at the proportions of these two cars. Remember the Mustang from the 90s and look at the Mustang here from 2015 and just how much of an evolution this car model, the Mustang, has done. The 8 Series here, I could say that this is it's a good modernization of the original from 1990. It could be a, it looks like it suits the original design. We have the smaller greenhouse that dips in a certain way that is similar to the original right here with this curvature. But at the same time, I don't understand how BMW could make this look at the Mustang that was already out at this time and not see all of these similarities that we have between these two cars. It's just crazy. For example, let's start at the front here. We have almost a similar style headlight. The only difference here is that the BMW one is a little bit more organic, something like that, but it sits in the exact same place. And also what I want you to keep in mind here is that the Mustang is in a bit of a top view. The camera angle is a bit tilted from the top, where the BMW here is straight from the side. This is the best kind of images that I could find to visualize these lines that I'm going to talk about. So we have the first graphics of the car, but let's skip the graphics and let's talk about the key lines here. We have a straight long line that dips a little bit in the front here. We have the exact same line here with the BMW, and then of course it goes into a shoulder line that starts at the exact same point in both two cars, and it also has the very similar line to it as well, although on the Mustang here you can see that it's a lot sharper than it is on the 8 Series, and this is something that BMW just recently introduced. I think the 8 Series was probably the first car to introduce this soft shoulder, which I'm not really a fan of. It's also visible very clearly in the new 4 Series Coupe. I would rather have it more defined like we have here. But then at the same time, if you look at the Ford Mustang Mach-E, they went with this style instead of the original Mustang. So they're kind of bouncing back and forth here of how to design the rear shoulder of the 8 Series or the BMWs and the Fords. They kind of interchanging their design language in that specific detail. Another thing I want to point out here is the angles on the rear part right here. So let's have a look at the BMW. It has something like this. Let's have a look at the Ford. It has something like this. Also very similar, not specific, not exactly the same. But what really blows my mind here is just how similar the greenhouse of both these cars is. You could basically take the Mustang's greenhouse right here and copy this and add it onto the BMW, and no one would ever notice the difference. The only difference that I see in the shape of these greenhouses here is that the Mustang greenhouse, the roof, dips a little bit lower than it does here. Even though this is a bit of a top view, I can still see that the metal goes a little further down on the Mustang, and also on the BMW you have the A-pillar being almost a straight line, where in the Ford Mustang you have the tiniest, slightest little curvature right here, and also the base of the A-pillar is different from both cars. In the BMW you have more of a smooth transition into the hood right here, whereas in the Ford it goes straight and crashes into the front fender. But those are the only differences that you can tell when you're looking at this car straight from the side. That's the thing. When I see an 8 Series, I always get confused if it pulls up next to me and the only part I see is the greenhouse. I always have to look twice down on the car to see if it's a Mustang or if it is an 8 Series. What I want to do now is show you the rear graphics, or the three-quarter rear view of these two cars, and also you can see the greenhouse, just how similar it is here as well. Almost better than you can in a straight side view. So what I'm gonna do here is to basically remove everything that makes the BMW a BMW and everything that makes the Ford a Ford. And what I mean by that is, graphically, I'm going to remove all the lights and the emblems and stuff like that, the graphical features, the 5.0 here, and I'm gonna show you the basic shapes of these two cars. And first of all, let's make them grayscale, and then let's just blur everything out and keep the original proportions of the cars. And you can see just how similar these two cars are. when we do this. So the lights are removed, all the emblems and stuff like that is removed here. And you can see that we have even similar trunk lids or deck lids on this car. We have the same integrated spoiler in the cars here, and then we have this step here, this surface right here, that goes into where the number plate sits, the license plate, and then of course down to the diffuser down here. So this is also interesting to just see how similar these two cars are in from this view when we remove all the graphics and all the emblems from the car. And again, just have a look at this detail right here. 8 Series even has the double bubble sharp roof right here. You can see that these two lines in the top of the roof here, which is the exact same lines that you have on the Mustang. So I don't know if this comes from the same kind of supplier somewhere, that they all wanted just to have the same kind of style as the Mustang, but just increase the width of a couple of lines on the Mustang right here compared to the 8 Series. Interesting to me to see how similar these are, because they're so, the brands Ford and BMW, they're so different in what they are, but yet the 8 Series seems to have copied a lot from the Mustang, which to me says a lot about how great of a design this S550 Mustang is. You can even look at the trim pieces here. The details in the glass is pretty similar to both cars. So I'm not sure if this is intentional or if this is just happened by accident, but either way, what this means is that cars, as I've been saying for a long time, are starting to merge together more and more when it comes to design. And we're going round and round in circles, and we're all coming back to the same timeless proportions depending on what package of car you're sketching or you're designing. In this case, we have a front engine, 2-door coupe cruiser, and you can tell that companies are struggling to come up with something new, which is of course why I'm excited for the electric platform, the skateboard that we can build whatever we want on top of. I think that is going to open up a lot of new doors for engineers and designers both. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I just got around to making it. We've got so many new cars to talk about in the incoming videos here. We have the Genesis G70, the new Maserati MC20, and of course the Lucid. I think they dropped a sedan today. All of these cars I'm going to cover in future videos, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe. That's it for today's video. Let me know if you can see any more similarities between these two cars in the comments below. Thank you as always for watching. I'm TheSketchMonkey, and I hope to see you in the next video.